All right, welcome to The Explainer, where we dig into the data behind the biggest questions. And today, man, we've got a big one, the Denver Broncos. There is so much hype around this team for 2025, but the real question is it for real? So let's just kick things off with this really wild thought from analyst Warren Sharp. Because when you look past their 10-7 record from last year, there's this, kind of unbelievable story hiding in plain sight. A story that hints at this team, well, they might have been one of the most dominant teams in the entire league, and nobody really noticed.
So here's the paradox, right? They finished the season with a solid 10 wins. But get this, they were an unbelievable 1-6 in games that were decided by just one score. Think about that. When they won, they didn't just squeak by. No, they dominated. 7 of their 10 wins were by 14 points or more. That's the most in the NFL. So what does that tell you? It tells you this is a team with an absolutely sky-high ceiling, but for some reason, they just couldn't close out the tight games.
So how do we figure out if this team is for real or if it's all just hype? Well, we're going to use what I'm calling the contenders checklist. It's pretty simple, really. It's based on what pretty much every analyst agrees you need to win a Super Bowl. You need an elite QB, you got to be dominant in the trenches, both offense and defense, and you need a top-tier shutdown D. So let's run the Broncos through the checklist and see how they stack up. All right, first up, the Bo Nix factor. We're checking that all-important quarterback box. And let's be honest, this is the most important position on the field and the biggest question for any team trying to make that leap. As a rookie, Bo Nix wasn't just good, he was historically good. We're talking 29 touchdown passes. That's the second most ever by a rookie in the entire history of the NFL. And get this, he passed John Elway for the most wins by a rookie quarterback in Broncos history. That's a heck of a start to a career. But here's what's really, really crucial. It's his growth when the heat was on. So if you look at a stat called expected points added, it basically just measures how much a single play helps you score. Early in games, when he was under pressure, Nix wasn't great. But as the game went on, you could see him figure it out. That number got way better. And that's exactly what you want to see. That's a young QB learning on the fly, adapting in the moment. And now, you hear him talk heading into year 2, and the confidence is just there. He's saying, yeah, the expectations are higher, but we like that. He spent his offseason training with Drew Brees, for crying out loud, and says the game is slowing down for him. That's the mindset. He's embracing the pressure. So that quarterback box, I think we can put a big check mark next to that one. Looking good. Okay, next on the checklist, winning in the trenches. We're checking the box for dominant lines. Because a great QB is nothing without time to throw, and a great defense always starts up front. This is where games and championships are really won or lost. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because a lot of people miss this. The Broncos, they quietly had the single best offensive line in the entire league last year. I'm not kidding. Number 1 in run block win rate, number 1 in pass block win rate. That's not just good, that is an absolutely elite foundation to build your offense around. So you might be thinking, okay, if the O-line was so good, why wasn't their run game always dominant? Well, here's why. Their main running back, Javonte Williams, was dead last in the league in stuff like yards after contact and making those big explosive runs. So what did they do this offseason? A complete overhaul. They brought in an explosive rookie, RJ Harvey, and a proven vet in J.K. Dobbins. It's like they had this amazing car frame and finally just dropped a high-octane engine into it. Game changer. All right, next up, the other side of the ball. An unstoppable defense. Time to check that top-tier defense box. And look, while the offense is full of exciting potential, this defense, it's already here. It has arrived. We're talking about a unit that went from being bottom 3 in the league just a year ago to one of the most feared groups in the entire NFL. What a turnaround. Their pass rush was, it was just relentless. 63 sacks. That's not just a new franchise record, that was the most in the entire league. You had guys like Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper just constantly, they were living in the other team's backfield. Non-stop pressure. And it wasn't just the sacks either. That's the scary part. Their all-around game was just dominant. They went from 30th all the way to number 1 in pass defense. They were 3rd in the league in fewest points allowed. And, their star cornerback, Pat Surtain II, just happened to win Defensive Player of the Year. Come on. That is a complete and total transformation into an elite, championship-level defense. And you'd think they'd be happy with that, right? Just stand pat? Nope. They are not resting on their laurels. An already great defense went out and got even better. They added proven, Pro Bowl caliber guys like linebacker Dre Greenlaw and safety Talanoa Hufanga. You're just adding more horsepower to a machine that was already one of the best in the business. Okay, let's get to the final verdict. Do they really have what it takes? I mean, let's recap the checklist. A young, developing QB who looks like the real deal? Check. An elite O-line? Check. A dominant, star-studded defense? Double check. The ingredients are all there. But what are the people who get paid to predict this stuff? The odds makers and the analysts? What do they think about their actual chances?
Well, the betting markets, they're interested, but they're not fully sold just yet. They're giving the Broncos about a 4.3% chance to win the Super Bowl. The odds are plus 2,200. That puts them around 9th best in the whole league. So yeah, they're seen as a legitimate contender for sure, but maybe not quite in that top tier with the big favorites.
But here's the twist. The expert analysts, the people who really break down the tape, they are way more optimistic. We're seeing a lot of predictions that have the Broncos not just making the playoffs, but actually dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs and winning the AFC West. Some are projecting records as high as 12-5 or even 13-4. So that kind of tells you the experts are seeing something that maybe the betting public is sleeping on.
So in the end, it really all boils down to this one thing, doesn't it? All the pieces are there. The roster looks stacked, the coaching is top-notch, the potential is, well, it's off the charts. But the final question, it's simple, but it's also everything. Can this team conquer the one thing that actually beat them last year, the final seconds on the clock? Can they turn all those gut-wrenching one-score losses into the kinds of wins that champions are made of? That, right there, is going to be the difference between just being hype and making history.